Good afternoon and welcome to Reimagine Radio. My name's Graham Wyman and I'm a program manager with the Disability Foundation. Today on our artist feature, I'm joined by someone that I've played with before, Jeff Standfield. Welcome, Jeff. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Doing really well.
That's great to hear. Well, Jeff, just to get us right going into it, maybe you could tell our listeners a little bit about when did you know music would be an important part of your life?
Yeah. Very early on,
Mm-hmm.
when probably I was about 10 to 12 years old.
Okay.
Both my parents played guitars quite a bit and had
Mm-hmm.
people over to play socially. So it was really a part of our lives. So I started playing the guitar really early,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really my early memories of music. So it was a really positive thing. And from there, I just started playing music myself.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I know if music in a family dynamic, it really kind of persuades you to go into some type of form or to continue on with it. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, what have been some of the challenges of having a disability and playing music for yourself?
Yeah. As far as playing itself, not a lot, but I
Mm-hmm.
think when I decided to play publicly and
Mm-hmm.
perform in venues and things like that, I think that's where the challenges developed,
Right.
more logistical challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Often venues can be tricky they're not that accessible, many of them,
Right. Yeah.
uh, having risers and stages and kind of awkward spaces to
Mm-hmm.
perform.
Of
And
course.
so that was a challenge, playing publicly, as well as just handling gear, which is often required.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the transitions, if you're performing live and it's part of like an open mic or any kind of multiple musician event, often you're transitioning on stage with an audience there. And so that can be kind of awkward if you're
Right.
having to kind of, you know, handle your instruments and gear sort of set up on stage. So those are
Mm-hmm.
some of the challenges that I've found playing music.
Gotcha. Now, a little bit of a curveball question. This wasn't in the questions I forwarded you, but is there a particular venue that you've really enjoyed playing at or that you find is fairly accessible?
Yeah, well, uh, certainly the Roundhouse, I would say, is
Mm-hmm.
an awesome venue because it's totally accessible. It's a big space.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorites, and we've been fortunate through VAMS to play in some pretty nice venues like the Chan
Yeah.
Center and that sort of caliber venue. So they're of
Mm-hmm.
course really awesome as well.
That's great. Now, how did you hear? I know you've been a VAMS member before my time, but when did you hear about VAMS and how long have you been a part of the society?
Wow. I go back a ways just because I first got introduced to VAMS through Dave Symington and Sam Sullivan.
Of course.
And I had known them prior to really music, and so
Okay.
just got involved. And then when I heard that this was an initiative that they had started, I naturally wanted to kind of be involved with that.
Mm-hmm.
So really back when it was getting going.
Okay. And I guess how have you seen the organization grow, like in that sense, since your time?
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, I think it was primarily, it started off, I guess, supporting Dave and Sam with some initiatives, performing with a band, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting out there, which was really a great thing from an awareness point of view. And then I guess as Vans developed, it developed more of a kind of a curriculum or a evolved sort of end-to-end support, the way I thought
Mm-hmm.
to that. So inviting new artists to come in and get involved, and then wherever they're at, wherever they need help,
Right.
uh, sort of end to end musically, that's where VAMS has gotten involved. So where it might have been in the beginning, involving say fundraising, it then turned into supporting artists with technical equipment or linking them with other artists in the community, whatever is needed. So I would say the main change is that VAMS has become a kind of a full service end to end music related organization for whatever VAMS artists need.
Well, no, and hopefully the program still keeps growing and finding new avenues to help support our clientele.
Totally, yeah.
Now, either on or off stage, what have been some memorable experiences you've had as a VAMS artist?
Well, first one that jumps to mind, I think, is being a host of an open stage, which we did in Burnaby for a number of years, and it was in a coffee house. So we did it, I think, once a month for a number of years. And what was great is that we, from time to time, get new VAMS artists, and so you'd see that progression from being really awkward and shy in front of a mic,
right,
to where they really blossom and really have a great time experiencing performing for the first time, and then getting really comfortable with it and good at it. So that's one of my biggest memories. I think other memorable experiences are when we've had the opportunity as VAMS artists to play, like I mentioned, at really great venues such as the Chan Center or Centennial Theater, often TV appearances, telethons, things like that, and playing with other top artists like Odds and Barney Bentall, and just to name a few, just really Jim Burns, the huge supporter. So that's another kind of memorable highlight experience.
No, you mentioned the Centennial, and I was lucky enough to join you and Dave for the last two shows that we did there. But playing there at the event was always fun. That was, especially also with Dan Moxon too. That was a real fun treat. Now, having recently retired and having some more time to create music, how have you approached writing, and has that changed for you at all?
It has, and it's been a transition as well. So I think the biggest change is having more time, and so kind of the way I approach, I've had the luxury now to kind of approach things in a unhurried manner and just kind of be able to dig in. And for example, doing more songwriting, and kind of being in that artist space, which often is hard to get to when you're in a busy juggling careers type of a work day. It's really hard to kind of get into that creative space. So I'm finding that's something that's happening more for me, and so I'm really enjoying that. And of course, with COVID and things like that, the chance to perform hasn't been as great, but there's been opportunities to kind of just develop your craft and practice more, and perhaps play with some online recording, and just to kind of keep it going, and of
course
keep developing.
Yeah, no, and at VAMS we've yet to play a in-person show, so I know I fully agree with the sentiment around, taking a reflection on where you're at musically too, almost.
Exactly. And I've noticed, one of the things I noticed recently just doing some at-home recording is that I'm out of shape, musically. Like when you practice without the need to perform, you don't necessarily have the same stamina that you do when you you are rehearsing with others and you're performing, and sometimes performing for hours in a night. You actually, it's like any kind of other physical activity, you develop a strength and a stamina. So it's the same playing an instrument. If you're not doing it a lot and playing it with intensity that you would playing with others or live, you're not really developing the same level of strength. So I kind of went into recording thinking I'm at the same level, but found out quite quickly that strings are buzzing, and
Right.
just your wrist tired and things like that, before too long. So one of the things I kind of take away from that is just kind of treating it like any other sport. You just have to put in that time as a kind of a workout, musical workout, to get stronger and more precise again.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that too. When you're, I've noticed myself, even just the creativity too comes in ebbs and flows, and then all of a sudden you try to get back to something and you're like, wait, I feel like I should be able to do this, and it's like, okay, just take it, okay, we're gonna play this 3/4 time, like 75% is the speed, and then slowly building back. So no, it is funny, as whether we are playing once every 2 weeks or once a month and not having that, right?
Yeah, it's quite.
Now, in 2013, you recorded End of the Line on the Strong Session CD at the Warehouse Studio. Maybe you could tell our listeners a little bit about what that experience was like, and what was the inspiration for that particular piece.
Yeah, totally. I think it was 2015, but the song End of the Line was something that I had written. I'd written, like often with a lot of the songs I write, you kind of write a part of a song. You're not necessarily sure exactly where it comes from, but you kind of tuck that away. And my wife and I were traveling in Halifax, and there's Pier 21, which is the Canadian Museum of Immigration, which is a really cool place. And they have logs of all of the ships and the passengers that have immigrated to Canada. So that sparked my imagination, and right away I thought of that sort of song bite that I'd, captured or written down, and I knew exactly what that was for, and it kind of related to that. It's a perspective of a couple coming from another country and immigrating.
Right.
And what that would be like, the exhilaration, the uncertainty, fears, whatever. And so that's how that song came about. And then getting that chance to record it at the warehouse. I mean, the warehouse is just such a phenomenal studio.
Of course, yeah.
And so many great artists have performed there that just being there was a, kind of gave me chills, and in a good way. And then playing with Odds, which and Craig Northey, I think, doing the producing. It was just a great experience. So so much so, I think I'm proud that I did it in sort of one take. I think we did 2 takes, but we ended up going with the first take, and so I must have been pretty pumped, because I try to do anything with one take, like recording, and it's pretty. So it's definitely a musical highlight for me doing that.
Oh, that's fantastic. It is funny when the magic just settles when it is the first take, right? It's one of those kind of, interesting experiences for sure.
Yeah, and I think as well, because you step up to this opportunity, and you don't want to kind of blow it. So there was probably a dozen people, with musicians and others in the studio, and it was just a time to really step up and nail it. And so that was really exhilarating to feel I did that, because it was playing guitar, singing, and playing harmonica all at the same time. And the odds of you flubbing something
Right.
in that, hitting a wrong harmonica note, or buzzing a string or whatever, is pretty high.
Yeah.
The potential for that. So I was pretty pumped finishing that song, just thinking, "Phew, wow! I just played that whole thing," and as far as I could recall, it didn't make an error on it. So
Yeah.
that, I guess that's the adrenaline rush, right, of playing music, and particularly recording, is if you can kind of stick the landing.
Yeah, no, it is funny when when adrenaline can be just a perfect kind of tool to use in that instance. Now, I had another question, again, another curveball question that kind of popped into my head, but one of my favorite pieces of yours is "Wise Old Tree," and I'm sure if someone's seen you play live, they might have heard a little bit of the background about this story. But maybe for those who haven't had the opportunity to see you live yet, would you mind telling us just a little bit about that particular piece and the
Yeah, well,
inspiration?
sure. Thanks for asking. I mean, it's a song I wrote that I'm pretty proud of as a piece of songwriting for me, just because it kind of tackled a relationship between father and son, and incorporated I think 3 generations, so grandparent, parent, and child,
Right.
and which is tricky to do in a song without getting really complicated and confusing. And so it's really a song about a dad who's talking to his son and reflecting on the good advice that he was given by his father, and his father was given by his grandfather.
Right.
And so yeah, I'm really proud of that song, and love to perform it. And I know I get really warm response to that song. So yeah, I look forward to playing it live soon.
I know, right? Fingers
Yeah.
crossed. And just touching on that piece again too, I know my dad in particular is probably, I think he's probably almost seen you every time we performed together. But no, he loves that piece as well. So no, that's
And I mean, listeners might be wondering, well, what's with the tree? Like, how
right.
does that?
Yeah, fit in.
So, as kind of a backdrop, where they have their conversations, father son is. I imagine it under this big old tree on the edge of the property of this family, and so in a way, this old oak tree, let's say, is kind of represents wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
and is listening in a way to these conversations over the generations. So kind of amasses a knowledge over the generations. So it's just an imagery.
Right.
So I called it Wise Old Tree.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us on the artist feature today, and great to talk to you as always.
I really appreciate this opportunity, and to talk about music,
Of course.
and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, no, we'll definitely have you back on the program.
Great.
Yeah. And to all our listeners out there, stay safe and keep that music flowing.